Yo, what's good YouTube? It is your host HG Samurai here, and welcome to the channel. Today I'm here to bring you guys another part 2, What If Asta Was Fujitora's Reincarnation, Part 9. Now guys, I'm really excited to get into this one. It's been a while obviously, but here I am with this part, and hopefully you guys do enjoy. So I recommend you guys relax, get some snacks, and just, do what you always do, as now it's time for us to get started into this video. So with that being said, it's your host HG Samurai, and let's begin.
You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do?
Alright guys, it's time for us to begin. Hopefully you guys do enjoy, and either way, let's get started. So guys, we now kick off this part with where we left off, as you see Finral about to go up against Longoris. Now, to kick off the battle, Longoris would instantly attack Finral. Now, Finral, of course, using this opportunity would activate his own ability, as he uses to warp away and just, move his teammates to different directions, as he does not want them to get hurt between the battle between the two brothers. So with that, Longoris and Finral then continue on their clash, as Finral makes multiple portals to deflect away any of Longoris' attack. And at that same time, Leopold and the rest, and I'm sorry, I don't know his other teammate's name. Anyway, both of them are trying to make their way to the other team's crystal, where we see, oh my gosh, I don't remember their names either. Wow. Awkward. Anyway, they try to go to Longoris' team, trying to take out their crystal, while at the same time Longoris' team are trying to do the same thing, as eventually they end up meeting with each other and begin to fight. And at that same instance, Finral was trying his best to compete with his brother, but unfortunately for him, he just can't fill out the gap, as Longoris will be trying to put down Finral with every single word, calling him weak, calling him pathetic, saying that he never would ever be able to beat him. However, even though Finral was trying to keep up with him, deep down he knew that it was true. When it comes to power, he can't beat his brother, alright? He's already decided on that. However, just because he can't beat him in strength or power or abilities does not mean that he just can't beat him in general. After all, it's one thing to lose a battle, and another part is to win the war. So as Finral continues on trying to deflect away any of the attacks, and while also trying to shoot back the attacks right back at him, Longoris will just be laughing at the fact that he thinks that Finral is nearing his limit. However though, this is when suddenly, as he throws another attack at him, this is when his team would then be declared as the losers. What? He would shout, as he would be surprised as he looks up into the ginormous magic screen, and as he does, he sees that his crystal was destroyed. Now, we will also see the shocked expressions of Leopold and his other teammate, along with Longoris' team, as they couldn't even believe what happened. Flashback. During the midst of all the barrages that Longoris was throwing at Finral, knowing that he can't exactly counter it with his own power, decided to use it against him. Now, he understood that when it comes to a contest of abilities, he can't win against Longoris. However, he could use Longoris' power against him. That was the best thing he can do right now, which is precisely what he did, as he activated one of the portals. And even though this did take up a generous amount of magic energy, considering the fact that this was a pretty big attack, Finral was able to use it to deflect it into a different direction by making the portal directly in front of Longoris' crystal. Now, although this might leave him a little bit vulnerable for the next attack, at least he'll be able to knock out the crystal just in time for the victory. As we now cut back to the present. Now, Longoris will be just in shock, as literally the replay was playing right in front of him, as you will see Finral's portal open up right in front of his crystal and just destroy it with his own attack, as Finral will be laughing at his brother's expression. And just seeing Finral laughing, the coward that he deemed in his eyes, this being Longoris, he kind of snapped instantly at that instant. He generated a generous amount of spiritual magic as he shoots out multiple spheres directly at Finral, trying to end him practically. He was blinded by rage and his magic was flaring up. Now Finral would actually see the attacks coming as he tries to use his magic to block it. However, unfortunately for him, he was unable to do so. Mostly due to the fact that by this point his mana was so low that he could barely even form a small little portal. So as Finral braces himself for the attacks, this is when suddenly Asta as well as the rest of the Black Bulls would then all contribute together as they stop Longoris' attack with ease. Now Longoris, seeing the Black Bulls, especially Asta, would then finally turn to him. "It's you. You're the reason why all this happened." As Longoris begins to shout at Asta, calling him a commoner, calling him a mistake as well, as his magic begins to flare up dangerously, while the rest of the Black Bulls would then stare down at him coldly. They didn't really care about what Longoris had to say, especially Asta. After all, what he did was, he was practically just trying to kill Finral right then and there, and that was not going to slide. So as Asta would stare down at Longris, he just swipes away with one slash from his katana. And as Longris was about to throw an attack at Asta, he would unfortunately end up getting a ginormous slash mark across his chest. And not only that, he would be blown back extremely, getting sent flying and crashing into the surrounding area. No one even reacted, as the rest of the Magic Knights were in shock at what they just seen, while the Black Bulls would just nod at it with a cold expression. After all, in their eyes, this was heavily deserved. And with that, this is when the wizard king would then make his appearance known, as he apologizes for Longris's actions, and this is when he then ends up calling out some medical mages to start patching him up, and he also announces the next match. As after this, we now do a little bit of a time skip. During the following time skip, we will see the rest of the Black Bulls beginning to get recovered, the ones that fight at least, and we also see the next ones who had actually won about to go into the next match. So with that, we can now move forward to the next matchups, and I'm just going to keep it blank. Pretty much, Asta ends up sweeping throughout most of the matches, all the way to the very finals. It's not the fact that the other person was not strong, it was just the fact that Asta was stronger, alright? There was no in-betweens. Asta's speed, powers, and abilities are something that literally most of the Magic Knights couldn't even counter. And heck, even his own squad mates didn't even know about Asta's true capabilities. The best bet they had was either 1, trying to finish him off as quickly as possible, or 2, trying to endure his attacks, which even now they still don't know any way of doing so. So with that, unfortunately, the rest of the Black Bulls that were participating end up losing, except for Noelle, as she's in the finals with Yuno. And pretty much they all end up getting patched up, and are actually really glad about how far they end up getting, and also from the experience that they gained from this. All the while, Asta had finally moved on to the finals, where he can now face off against Yuno. So with this, it was finally time for the final match, as everyone will be waiting in anticipation. Now at this point, Asta and the rest of his team were good to go, as they had no injuries at all. As Asta was actually right now sitting down in a meditative position, as he was trying to prepare himself for the next match. He already knew that Yuno was not going to wait any second longer, and that he definitely was going to throw everything he got at Asta. So, as Julius would look at both sides, seeing that both of them were now ready, it was finally time for him to announce it. It was finally time for this match to begin. Now, instantly hearing that they can start, Yuno would rush over to Asta's direction, using every bit of his power to rush there as quickly as possible. And at that same instant, Asta would actually stand still, remaining in the same position as he was. Mimosa would be freaking out. He just feels Yuno's ginormous amount of magic energy approaching them as quickly as possible, as she asks Asta why he's not moving. As this is when Asta would then turn to Mimosa, who ends up blushing a little bit as he begins to explain to her exactly why he wasn't moving, as well as a plan. Now you see, although things look good for Asta, I mean, this man is strong, he has generous amount of abilities and everything. Things should be looking really great for him, right? But unfortunately, it's not. In fact, Asta's at a very disadvantage in this one. Now you see, if it was just regular canon, then things would be way easier for Asta. He can just take down Yuno, then take down the crystal, and be done with it. But the thing is he's no longer dealing with just one person. It's not like Yuno's carrying the entire team. No, he has Noelle and also another guy who I don't really know the other guy's ability. I just know he's a cool dude and everything. But Noelle is also a big threat in her own right, mostly because of the fact of Asta's training. I mean, she literally has full control over her Valkyrie form, full mastery of it as well. And not only that, but she's literally at this point, if I were to actually make an estimation here, she's stronger than both Zora and Noelle. So at this point, Asta is kind of at a very sticky situation. Now, there is ways for Mimosa and Zora to win a course against Noelle, but the thing is that heavily relies on very situational occurrences. So he needs to pretty much bet on the odds and make it to where they could actually win. So as Asta informs Mimosa and Zora about their plan, they end up nodding their heads, although Zora looks at Asta as if he's crazy. I really hope you know what you're doing, or else you're going to pay for it, Zora would say, as he ends up running off along with Mimosa, as this is when Asta would then finally see Yuno approaching him, as a ginormous burst of wind would then slam down in the area that he was in. It will completely blow away the area where Asta was standing, leaving nothing left, as Yuno would stare down there in anticipation. Jeez, you could at least let me finish talking with my team, Asta would say, as we will see him being completely fine, and not only that, but he was actually right beside Yuno. Yuno would be surprised at Asta's appearance, but this is when suddenly he would then create a generous wind blade, 3 of them actually, as he tries to slash at Asta, who dodges out the way. As Yuno then tries to sense for Asta, this is when he then feels an attack approaching him from behind, as this will cause him to maneuver out of the way of the attack. he was able to dodge it. It looks like he actually did get better, also with smirk. As this is when Yuno will then suddenly move from above as he slams down a generous tornado down at Asta, who ends up actually letting the attack hit. Everyone will watch as the devastating attack would hit the area, destroying it completely, as Yuno would stare down at Asta, trying to give it everything he's got. As he continues pouring more and more into this generous tornado, Asta will then suddenly cut it in half completely, and causing Yuno to tense up even further. Not bad, but still not good enough, also with smirk, as he would then suddenly end up jumping up into the air as he kicks the ground multiple times, allowing him to practically fly. What? Yuno would say, as this was legit defying like physics or something. This shouldn't be possible. As he looks at Asta, Asta would already be in front of him as he tries to dodge out the way, but unfortunately he was not quick enough. With a simple slam of the blunt side of his blade into Yuno's gut, Yuno will be sent flying and crashing into the ground, hard. As Asta would be there looking at him with a cruel smirk, actually looking quite terrifying as some people would say. Yuno, who felt that hate, was legit coughing up his lunch from earlier that day. That attack truly hit different. As he looks at Asta into the sky, who was looking down at him with a mocking smirk, Yuno would get even more determined as he looks up at Asta. Are you really going to take me serious or not? Yuno would say. Now Asta would be confused as Yuno would begin to explain that Asta was not taking him serious, mostly because of the fact he used the blunt side of his sword, not the actual sharp part. As Asta would be there staring down at Yuno with actually a baffled expression, Yuno would then declare to Asta that he would make Asta take him serious, even if he had to force it out. And just as he says that, this is when suddenly he would then erupt with generous amount of magic energy as the spirit would then make her appearance known. She would then merge with Yuno, as this is when Yuno would then sprout one single wing behind his back, and also he will seem to take on this very like greenish glow. Asta would be there actually impressed by Yuno's strength as he can just feel the power just radiating off of him. As Yuno would look at Asta, this is when suddenly he would then disappear in a green flash as he appeared above Asta with his blade ready to chop him down. However, just before he can really do anything, this is when Asta would then suddenly end up smirking, as with a single slash he's able to cut apart that blade. You're gonna have to try much harder, Yuno, Asta would say. As Yuno would be there in shock, this is when suddenly he ends up smirking, as Asta would then suddenly feel the generous amount of wind blow him away. As this was one of Yuno's techniques, which I'm just going to call it a faint wind blade. Pretty simple, it looked like he missed, but pretty much he really never misses with the attack. You could say it's similar to Naruto's Sage Mode, as whenever Naruto's in that technique, and you know how each time he would throw a hit, it would look like he misses, but he actually ends up landing the hit either way. I'll say it was similar to that for Yuno, as each single time that you think that he misses an attack or like a slash or a punch, thanks to the added benefit of wind, he's able to still land the hit even though he misses. So that's pretty much, Yuno's ability right there. Now Asta would actually be caught off guard by the attack, as he would then see Yuno approaching him even faster. Okay, interesting. As this is when Asta would then generate a generous amount of anti-magic, he will then begin to go full combat against Yuno, as both of them will be landing hit for hit with each other. Yuno will be trying his hardest, landing as many blows as he can on Asta, while Asta himself had to admit he was giving like nearly as much effort as well. Now let me tell you right now, Asta's not going all out, of course. I mean, Yuno's gonna actually have to force it out of him, but honestly, he is beginning to pick up a little bit of a sweat. As Yuno and Asta will continue going clash for clash, destroying the entire area practically, as the rest of their teammates are currently right now in the midst of fighting each other. I didn't forget about them. Noah was currently right now actually trying to fight off against Mimosa and Zoro, as they were trying to protect the stone as best as possible. Right now they were trying to escape to different directions, or at least that's what it seemed to Noel, as Zoro was trying to fend her off. Gosh dang it, I really hope this works. Zoro would say this as he dodges out of the way of another attack from Noel. Now Noel herself was actually impressed that the guy was able to dodge her this long, as Mimosa was trying her hardest to get away as well. Where exactly are they running off to? She would say, as she was trying to think in her mind exactly what was the plan here, as in all honesty she thought that this was a win. Now all the while, as we now turn back to Asta himself was legit just casually beginning to fight Yuno, as Yuno himself finally was actually making Asta having to work even harder. Alright, well Yuno, looks like you got what you wanted, Asta would say. As Yuno prepares to swing another wind blade directly at Asta, This is when Asta would suddenly end up using his Devil Fruit ability, as he ends up making his sword weigh much more. As with that, he ends up slicing down with full force, and Yuno, feeling just the blunt of this attack, was instantly sent flying and crashing down into the ground. Dang it, even with all my mana, I'm not able to resist it, he would say. As he tries getting up once more, Asta will stare down at Yuno for a few seconds before smirking. Libe, I believe it's finally time. At this, Libe then suddenly ends up appearing on Asta's shoulder. As he ends up cackling a little bit, Asta would then begin to take in a transformation. He looks down at Yuno, who looks at Asta as he's gathering just a enormous amount of anti-magic. And this anti-magic has such a frightening presence that is literally nearly forcing Yuno to deactivate his own mana skin. He's causing the magic to go out of control, Yuno would say, as he literally feels the form losing its power as Asta takes in the transformation. Well, Yuno, you finally got what you wanted. I guess I'll show you a glimpse of me being serious, Asta would say, as Asta would instantly take the samurai-like appearance, combined with the power of the anti-magic as he gets a dark and red color, as he would sprout wings from his back. Yuno, seeing this, would then rush at Asta, as the form that he was holding on to, just being in the presence of Asta, was nearly shutting down completely. As Asta would look at Yuno, he would then look into a different direction, and as he does, he already sees it perfectly in position. Finally, Asta would say, as we would now turn our direction to Zora, as he's currently right now rushing into the direction before finally landing in the exact spot that Asta was telling him to be at. Finally, I'm here, you bastard. Now hurry up and do it, Zora would shout as he would actually draw the attention of Noelle, who would be confused exactly what he was talking about. And so this one she suddenly ends up turning around, as she would be hit by the wave of anti-mana that was shooting out of Asta. And this will nearly cause her to deactivate her transformation, but she's able to hold it in, although her transformation is basically crumbling apart. Holy, what? Great. Looks like we lost, Noelle would say. As just feeling the anti-magic that was surrounding it, it was very clear about who lost this one. As Yuno would rush at Asta with the wind blade as he tries to strike, Asta would just simply slash downward. And that was the end of the fight. As Yuno would then be hit by a ginormous amount of anti-magic, instantly causing him to be knocked out of the transformation, but also end up giving him a slash mark across his shoulder as he would fall over. And at that same time, the ginormous wave of anti-mana would also end up slicing apart the crystal of Noelle's team. And just as she does, Noelle would actually also get forced out of the transformation, as just as the attack was traveling, it kind of just knocked her into her pretty much. It just spread throughout like a wave, and it kind of just hit her, knocking her out of the transformation. So yeah, Asta ends up destroying the crystal, and Asta's team won. And this would end up causing Julius to declare Asta's team as the winner, as everyone would be there watching in shock. The magical field that was literally created so that way they can hold it on destruction was legit destroyed by Asta's anti-magic as well. As Asta would exit out of the transformation, everyone would be looking at Asta in shock, as they just saw someone who has potential to legit rival even the captains standing right in front of them. As this is where we now fade to black. So we now move forward as we do a time skip. So the Black Bulls, after fighting in the exams, finally have enough time where they can relax, or at least relax the way they could. Now, some of them decide to just relax and just chill out at the Black Bulls base, while someone like Asta is currently right now training outside, trying to test out his abilities and push them even further. As Asta was enjoying himself mid-training, this is when suddenly he'll be approached by none other than Leona, as alongside her will be Noelle. Now, this is where we now move forward once again, as we see the Black Bulls now being lined up, as Leona will then tell that pretty much everyone who had participated are now part of the Royal Magical Knights. Now, this would cause the Black Bulls to actually be happy, as they were excited that they all passed, although some of them were a little bit confused considering the fact that, well, they didn't feel like they performed all that well, but at the end of the day, they still passed, and that was the good part. Now, as she does, Leona will then tell them exactly the destination where they need to meet at, and exactly what the game plan will be, as she will then head off. So with this, we now once again move forward. So we now see the rest of the Magic Knights, as they were currently right now there. And by the way, I'm sorry that I said Magic Knights. I mean Royal Magic Knights, because, fancy and everything. But either way, they were right there, standing there in anticipation. You'll see the Black Bulls currently right now wearing their own robes, including Asta. However, the thing is, Asta's robe will be different from the others, mostly due to the fact of his very tall, strong stature, and also because of the fact the way that Asta fights. And I'm not gonna lie to you. Have you seen those robes? I'm honestly surprised that some of them can even move inside those robes, dude. They look mad uncomfortable. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. But moving on. Asta's robe will be very different from the others, mostly because of the fact that his robe actually was meant for close combat, and also because of the fact that it suited Asta's style way more. And it was designed off of yukata pretty much, most of the things that Asta ends up wearing, mostly because of the fact that it suits Asta's fighting style way better. So if you guys understand all that, we can now turn to Leona as she was finally done giving them the speech, as well as the introduction of Nozel, as he will also be participating in this hunt for the Midnight Sun, as well as storming the Midnight Sun's base, as now that everyone was ready, it was finally time for them to rush in. As all the groups are now formed, they will all suddenly charge into the base with full speed as they let out a ginormous battle cry, as we wait to see in anticipation about the events that are about to transpire. What exactly do you guys think is going to happen in the next part? And what exactly you think how is Asta going to be able to handle the Midnight Sun and the next upcoming threats? Well, you guys are going to all have to find this out in the next part of the What If, as I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to end this part right here. I know it's fairly short, but the reason for this one is pretty simple. I just don't got the time, guys. I have to study. So due to that, I can't exactly spend a lot of time stuck here and making my videos. I'm very sorry. But hey, you guys still get content nonetheless, so woo! Yeah. So, hopefully you guys do enjoy yourselves. It's your host, Stacy Samurai, and he's signing off. And by the way, guys, if you don't mind, please type down any what ifs or ideas that you guys have for the future, so that way I can just write them down, because, it's always nice to actually read y'all comments, or, just get, a fresh new idea, who knows. But anyway, it's your host, Stacy Samurai, and he's signing off. Peace, and have a lovely day.